Hey everyone, talking about the top 5 scents that are both badass and like classy, refined, and sophisticated at the same time. Not always a common combination. Often the ones that are kind of the most sophisticated and refined, you certainly wouldn't necessarily think of as being badass. And in return, some of the more badass ones can often be super challenging and something that wouldn't necessarily be considered the classiest. These 5, to me, all fit both categories. A couple things that are true about all of them. One, they're all, for the most part, more masculine leaning. Some of them are marketed as unisex, though. Anybody should wear them if they want to, but just a heads up on that. Two, they're all on the pricier side, which kind of makes sense given that they're in the, sophisticated category and being so well done in terms of the quality of balancing these things. And three, they all have at least pretty good, if not amazing, longevity and projection. So let's jump in. These are in no particular order. Number 1, Black Gemstone by Stephane Humbert Lucas 777. The notes in this are 3 types of cedar, lemon, myrrh, tar, incense, teak wood, and tonka. At the beginning, when this kind of opened, I was just kind of like, yeah, this is, pretty good. It's fine, like bright and fresh and kind of woodsy, but it gets like darker and more rubbery pretty quickly, and I love how it does that. It's also kind of cool how it opens with something a little bit more, not casual, but like a little bit more like, okay, yeah, just this is good, but fine. And then just explodes into this like, oh wow, like really badass scent. There's always still kind of some kind of freshness that shines through the whole thing though. And even though it has a lot of cedar, it does not feel like old school. I think that just helps it kind of give it some class, but without turning it away from the badass notes either. Really nice. Definitely fits this category for me. Kind of rubbery, has a lot of depth, but it's really smooth, and it's not like overly experimental to the point where it would fall out of the sophisticated category. Number 2, Oud in Bourbon by Sense of Wood. The notes in this are oud, coffee, Davana, cocoa, Labdanum, Frangipani, vanilla, and patchouli. Really rich, but not stuffy. Just super captivating, and I would not normally feel that way personally about very many oud scents, but this does that for me. It has, also oud and patchouli, both can be pretty pungent, but the way this is done here is just so smooth, not pungent, not animalic, and the chocolate is so well done here as well. It's just like the perfect balance between sweet but not too sweet, but also not too bitter. Not a gourmand at all. And then there's this like leathery amber from the Labdanum. Just really high quality, really well blended, so smooth, but it also has that badass side too, and it just smells amazing, period. So I think that's something that it would be a must try. Of all of these are on this list, I think, if you like the category, but that one I love. Next up, Parfum Prissana, Nimitr. The notes in this are Aldehyde, lemon, Mandarin, Galbanum, lavender, Clary sage, Jasmine absolute, Opoponax, Styrax, bay leaf, cinnamon, nutmeg, civet, leather, costus, patchouli, vetiver musk, oak moss, birch tar, cade, castoreum, gardenia, plum, incense, labdanum, tobacco, vanilla, hyacinth, and sandalwood. Okay, so that's a lot of notes, but it takes some of those that can often be pretty intense. Leather, aldehydes can be such a cloud of kind of like explosive high-pitchedness almost. Tobacco and smoke obviously can be pretty intense in different ways. There's animalic notes, there's bitter green, but it does all of these in a really smooth way, so like classy and sophisticated, but also badass at the same time. Almost reminds me of a more niche and kind of a little bit more modern than this might sound, smelling take on like what classic masculine Chanel fragrance, and but not dated at all, nothing like that. So just an excellent scent that again fits the brief for this. Next up, African Leather by Memo Paris. The notes in this are bergamot, cardamom, saffron, cumin, geranium, patchouli, oud, leather, vetiver, and musk. A lot more wearable than you might think from some of the kind of extreme looking notes in there. For example, cumin is known for making people smell like BO or like overly sweaty sometimes when it's in wearable fragrance. Does not do that here. This is like deep, rich, spicy, fresh, woodsy, earthy, and even a little bit sweet all at the same time. It's not as leather dominant as you might think, at least not before the dry down, despite it having, leather in the title. Smooth, but yet has a challenging side, but really refined and badass. The oud here is pretty tame as far as oud goes. It's not my type of fragrance to wear, it's just a bit too earthy for my personal taste, but it smells really high quality, really well blended, and very alluring, and again, badass and sophisticated. And last, Bois de Cis by Naomi Goodsir. The notes in this are tobacco, whiskey, cinnamon, amber, cistus labdanum, oak moss, smoked cade wood, and Somalian incense. So this smells like a couple different things that are very intense. I sometimes think of like zoologist hyrax in the opening, and certain like really smoky, fiery scents. This has some kind of reminiscence of ones that, like those, but it does not smell like a designer or cheapie, that's for sure. If you don't like intense smoky scents, you might want to skip trying this one. I don't think it would be so much up your alley. But if you do, the tobacco and whiskey are super well blended here. You don't need to be super into tobacco or boozy notes. It doesn't go over the top with either of those. It doesn't go too earthy, just like delicious in like kind of a badass but still sophisticated way. So highly recommend any of these if you are looking for something that is going to have an edge to it but that still feels classy. And I'll put links in the description where you can get a bottle or a sample of any of them. If you have a favorite that fits this category that I didn't mention, let me know.